You know, you've got a classroom volcano, the kind made with baking soda. And then you've got a real one, threatening an entire town. They feel like they're worlds apart, don't they? But they're actually connected by this one really powerful idea. So today, we're going to break down a simple science fair project to uncover the exact same process that drives literally all scientific discovery.
Okay, so how do we connect those dots? How do we get from a simple school project to a real-life crisis? Well, here's our roadmap. We're going to start small in the classroom. Then we'll follow that little spark of an idea, watch an experiment get built, and then we're going to see how that exact same process scales up to save lives in the real world. Let's dive in.
Every great scientific leap has a starting point. And for us, it's not some fancy high-tech laboratory. Nope, it's just a regular classroom. And it's right here that a simple announcement is about to accidentally turn a bunch of students into actual scientists.
And there it is. That's the spark. It seems so simple, right? But that one sentence is the official starting gun for the entire scientific process. A problem has just been presented. We need a project. Now they need a solution, an experiment.
So you've got a project to do. Where do you even start? Well, the first step in science isn't really about finding the answers. It's all about asking questions. It starts with a brainstorm where every idea, no matter how wild, is thrown on the table.
And just look at this. 3 different students, 3 totally different ideas. You've basically got an engineer, an ethologist, and a geologist in the making. What you're looking at here are competing hypotheses. This isn't just kids arguing. It's a form of peer review happening in real time right there in the classroom.
And this is a huge moment. This is where collaboration becomes so important. See, science is rarely a solo sport. After all that debate, they land on a single, focused goal. That chaotic brainstorm just transformed into a concrete, testable plan.
Okay, an idea is one thing, but turning that idea into a physical thing you can test, that's where the real work starts. Now the students have to get their hands dirty. They become builders, chemists, even artists, all to bring their hypotheses to life.
Check this out. This is the scientific method in action. Notice how deliberate each step is. First, they build the apparatus. The dough is the mountain, the bottle is the magma chamber. Then they prep the base materials, water and coloring for effect. And finally, they add the key ingredients for the reaction. It's a procedure.
Every single experiment, whether it's in a classroom or at a place like CERN, has this moment of truth. It's that nail-biting point where you introduce the final piece of the puzzle and just wait to see if you were right. For them, it's time to add the vinegar.
And it works. A perfect eruption. That red foam isn't just for show. That's their data. That's the visual proof that their model, their whole idea about the chemical reaction, was a success. This is the big payoff for all that work.
So, their careful, step-by-step process paid off. Big time. From that messy brainstorm all the way to the final test, they followed a path that led to a result they could prove. Yeah, the first-place ribbon is nice, for sure, but the real prize? It's the validation, the proof that their model worked just like they thought it would.
Okay, so a baking soda volcano wins a blue ribbon? That's awesome for the kids, but why should the rest of us care? Well, this is where we zoom out. Let's scale this up from the classroom and see how this exact same process plays out when the stakes are, well, infinitely higher. Think about it. In the classroom, you get the joy of discovery and maybe a prize. In the real world, scientists are using the same method, but they have the serious responsibility of trying to protect entire communities. The process is the same, but the outcome, well, it's the difference between a trophy and saving lives.
So, that little classroom project, it actually has a real-world counterpart. It's called volcanology. And these scientists, they aren't just making models for fun. They are studying the real thing to figure out how it behaves, so they can warn people before it's too late.
Now look at these goals. They sound kind of familiar, don't they? The students wanted to show how a volcano erupts. Real volcanologists want to do the same thing, but for them, understanding leads to prediction. Prediction leads to warnings, and warnings lead to getting people to safety. That same basic curiosity becomes a vital public service.
So you see the pattern here, right? It doesn't matter if you're using a soda bottle or a high-tech seismograph. The core process is identical. You create an experiment, you test your ideas, and then you draw conclusions from what you find. It's this simple loop, over and over again, that pushes all of human knowledge forward. We've connected the dots from the classroom to the field. But the real lesson here actually isn't about volcanoes at all. It's about a way of thinking.
It's about having a process you can rely on to find answers to tough questions.
Which leads to the big question, really. Why bother with all this? Why learn the method? Why build the models? Why test the ideas? What's the fundamental point of it all?
Well, the answer is pretty simple. It's because this process, this is what turns I think into I know. It gives all of us a reliable way to ask questions, to work together, and to actually find solutions. It's the best tool we have for tackling problems, from the smallest science fair project to the biggest challenges facing our world.
And that, of course, brings this whole thing back to you. Just think for a second. What was your first experiment? Maybe it was a baking soda volcano, or a potato clock, or maybe you were just a kid mixing stuff in the backyard to see what would happen. That spark, that desire to test something and see it for yourself, that's the scientist in